So I'm very happy to welcome everyone here to the Odsal Ling temple. This is a place that was established by Chagdud Tulku Rinpoche a long time ago. He named this place Odsal Ling because that translates to place of clear light. And we still enjoy this blessing of environment as a refuge, a place. We used to lovingly call it refugio. It was so sweet for us to think of it as our little spot to find safety and well-being. But as it turns out, it is even more greatly a spot to find safety and well-being than we could have even imagined. But it's not only the environment, it's the whole world. This is a little kind of soft spot in the opportunity of understanding perfection, because that's what the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, and the great masters bring to us, is a reminder that it's all far more perfect than we might realize. Not only the world, but yourselves, your body, your speech, your mind. That we are endowed by our own perfect nature with qualities, and yet we might not know those qualities are there. Like, does ice really know it's water? And in the same way, the great masters that all of us here benefit from so immediately, the great masters tell us all the time that there is a perfection. You know, that's sort of a nice idea. We like those ideas. But perfection is beyond ideas. Ideas themselves are not exactly perfect. They more or less come and go. Our emotions, our expectations, our hopes and fears, they do just sort of come and go. They're cyclical at best. They might return, or they just morph into something different. Every other day, we have something to deal with. And so we're sort of preoccupied and distracted and unaware of the water that is currently functioning and believed to be solid and cold and brittle, certainly hard to deal with. But by nature, water isn't solid. It isn't hard, it isn't brittle. It isn't even remotely close to how we experience it in its frozen state. Frozen by hope and fear, frozen by expectation and disappointment, frozen by the poisons of the mind, ignorance, attachment, aversion, pride, and jealousy. Oh my goodness, we have such an icy novella of life. And even though, in general, our frozen state isn't enough to truly complain about, it's so much worse for the frozen state of the animals. So much worse for the frozen state of the ghosts and demons. It's even not a good story for the gods who are frozen in such such a glorious kind of seemingly auspiciously fortunate situation that just abandons them too. This is what the Buddha calls samsara. Samsara is our mind fooling us into hope and fear, gain and loss, praise and criticism, and especially this whole happy sad thing. Oh my goodness, we've so bought that story. And it's really just the ice. And yet the water is there. Not somewhere else over the rainbow or at the end of a long journey or after you win the lottery. It is already completely and absolutely, intrinsically, timelessly present. And yet we aren't present. We're just hoping and fearing and speculating, reviewing. We're just wanting more all the time and afraid we'll lose something. Oh my goodness. And it's really tragedy because I feel like in my own contemplations it's become so clear to me that we aren't able to rejoice in what we have. How sad is that? Because the tragedy you'll feel when you lose what you have is equal to the joy you should have had while you lived it. That's how great the loss will feel. And so it doesn't make any sense. We don't enjoy this world well enough. Because it will be a great tragedy when it's lost. And they aren't equal, not because loss is so terrible. Loss is loss. It's what we would expect loss to be. But what's terrible is that we're not enjoying what we have while we have it. And that's not even coming close to understanding that you could be free. You could be complete. That the loss of something like our ordinary understandings of life isn't really losing much. So greater than rejoicing and contentment in everyday life is to realize the world in its perfection. But if you're not going to do that, a lot of people are not going to do that. They're not going to. Look at your own lives. How many years you've been listening to the Dharma teachings? What kind of change have you made, actually, really, truly made in your spiritual path? What are you really doing? And most of it is you're not doing anything. You're just watching the water go by. Sitting by the lake. There's a song somewhere. Not even doing a spiritual path. Maybe you're aspiring, maybe you're longing, maybe you're pretending. But truly engaging the spiritual path to reveal the perfection inherent in the moment, to cut through time and division, to realize non-divided absolute truth. Really? Excuse me? Because that is doable. That's doable. Keeping this impermanent world isn't doable. Enjoying it and being content with it, that's doable because that's all you've got. I mean, you could be enjoying it or not. Mostly not, because we're in the grip, the desperate grip of hope and fear, pretending. So, the Buddha taught. The Buddha taught in order that we could understand what needs to be fixed, what needs to be understood, and the process of literally attaining the water instead of locked into the ice. And the fact that we don't have long in this human body. This human body is really such a I would say, I don't know, a jewel that you have this human body. But it's not capable, as is nothing in this world. Nothing. No matter how rich you get, no matter how lovely your home, no matter how many, cars you have or beautiful children you have, no matter your lovers and friends, no matter your story, your whole story will change. So keeping it is not really possible. I mean, not even slightly possible. But using it is really possible. And that's what the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas and the great masters are saying to us, is that it's useful, kids. You could make a big difference. Not only for yourself, but for those that are connected to you. That's what's possible with a human body and the opportunity to understand the teachings, to have the character to apply yourself to wisdom and merit, means that your human life could be the life you've always longed for. That it's this one. But that's really up to you. And to some degree, I would say it's kind of up to your karma. Because look at what the force of karma fools you into thinking. Fools you to think you need more. Fools you to think you don't have enough. Fools you to think you're a victim. Karma fools you, thinking things are important that are not important. That tragedies and difficulties are overwhelming when really they're just impermanent phenomena. Comes, goes, goes. And yet we're so stuck on it. That's karma. So the spiritual path has to have certain elements. We have to be able to be honest and deal with karma. We have to understand that you are under the influence of your story. But that story is rewritable, editable, adjustable. And finally, karma itself isn't even true. It happens. For sure. Nobody better, act like karma doesn't happen. We need a t-shirt. So you remember. Karma happens. But it also passes. And it's also created every moment. You need to understand karma so that you can understand how to manage and how to utilize this impermanent life to the greatest of your ability, out of your compassion, because this isn't a problem only for you and me. This is a problem for every unenlightened being. And if you have compassion, you don't let the days and the weeks and the months and the years pass by. You utilize them, because you won't get to argue when the day you die arrives. There won't be any arguing. There won't be any postponing. Bribery will not work, although you might consider it. The day that you die, you have to be ready for that. Because if you're not able to accomplish realization in this life, death is your best moment. But think about it. Death is difficult. It's hard, it's frightening. The sand is not holdable. It's falling. So you have to be really more than ready for that moment. So when Chagdud Rinpoche was asked one day, what is the purpose of life? He said, the purpose of life is to prepare to die. Is that what you're doing with your life? You should at least ask good questions of yourself. That much trust you should take in yourself to ask the hard, good questions and demand answers from yourself. Because this is your only chance in this life. You might think you have other lives, and you will, for sure, but they may not be as good as this one. More than likely, they won't be as good as this one. Again, you shouldn't live regret. So instead, we embrace compassion. That's the way to go through, is compassion. And it's really, really, almost tactile compassion. It's the feeling of compassion for your children. What will they face? Most of us as parents, we can't really think independently enough about our children. But your children are water that's frozen. What are you giving them? What is your legacy? Are you giving them wisdom to know how to deal with their life? Or you're just giving them stuff, or maybe not giving them anything, you're just giving them trouble. Compassion. Compassion for the ones right nearby you. What will happen with your mom? Most of us, we don't realize we've washed our hands of this responsibility. We really just look at our life sort of like personal shopping. Have you ever noticed you go out to get a gift and somehow turns in you bought something to come home with for you? Just turns into more shopping. It turns into more need. That empty place. And we forgot. But the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, and the great masters, they haven't forgotten us. And they sing this same song again and again and again and again. When will you sing it too? The spiritual path is like a song. It's not just listened to, it's not just admired. It's to be sung. It's to take flight in your life. So with compassion, think about this moment being here, this moment of your water inseparable with ice, just out of reach. And have pure motivation thinking, well, I'll listen, I'll learn, I will use my life for the benefit of all beings. Not just your children, not just your mother, but for all of them. There's not really a difference amongst us. We all have the same problem. It just manifests in different ways. But we all have the same problem. There's a perfection and we don't see it. Like a dreamer caught in a dream, unable to wake up. No more true than that. But how helpless. So that's the kind of person who comes here and listens to the teachings. Is somebody who's saying, I know I set the alarm clock. I know I set the alarm clock, trying to wake up. This is your life. You don't want to waste it. So then that's a matter of, what does this entail? So in order to really deal with what this entails, it means you kind of have to adjust the way that you understand the life. Most of us don't really pay attention to the fact that, we entered this world. We were born. We have a starting date. That's an entry into a story. The world was kind of as it is, and we entered this story, entered this family, entered this story. We entered our human body experience, our worldly environment experience. We entered this world utilizing our body and our speech. We started screaming right in the beginning. Our body, our speech, our mind. Maybe the mind wasn't really, activated very well in the beginning. The body, wow, it's a funny little thing that we entered into this world with. And it didn't stop from that moment. We have been in this story. This story of becoming. That's what we're doing all the time. We're becoming. We're trying to become something. And it's not new. We don't know that. Our little bodies and our little screaming moments, we don't really know that. This isn't new. This is something we've been doing lifetime upon lifetime upon lifetime of trying to become something, become. As if we weren't, and so we had to become. And so in this life, we don't even ask, we just try to become. Everything. Everything. And when this life is over, nothing here will be keepable. Nothing here will be remembered. Nothing here will make any difference. You won't take a red penny with you. Your name will be forgotten. Your family's names will be forgotten. There's nothing that's going to carry on after you. And we enter into another phase of becoming. And becoming, and becoming, and becoming, and becoming, and becoming. Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, becoming, trying to become. The endless, endless cycles of becoming, never arriving. Just trying to become something. We don't even know what it is. We have an intuition there's something. Something we're supposed to do, something we're supposed to be, something. I mean, there must be something. And this is the distinction between an ordinary human being and an extraordinary human being. An extraordinary human being will look back at what they're doing. Becoming what? Again? And an ordinary human being just keeps trying. And then they die. Birth, sickness, aging, death. That's the track. And as ordinary people, we sort of try to ignore the track. We don't really, we're sort of enjoying, I think of it like a train on a track. We're sort of enjoying the ride, looking out the window, reading a book, maybe we go to the dining car. Or we're having an argument with our husband or our wife, or we're flirting with someone across the aisle, or we're endlessly on our phone. But the train never arrives. It hits a wall. That's what happens. It hits a wall. Doesn't get there. It's a ride, that's for sure. But it doesn't get there. And so our life, and if you think about it honestly, if you're one of these people who will look back and question, you look at your life and you see, oh my goodness, how much of my life is already gone? How many things I thought I was going to get? How many places I went and got home, and now it's just a memory. There's no thing there. Even if you have some souvenir, it's just junk now. You move it into a closet, or you ditch it altogether. It's nothing. It's just a movement of no movement. And so the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas and the great masters, they talk about this, and they talk about it in sort of brutal fashion, like, everything is impermanent. Sort of straight, just no frills. Everything is impermanent. Your body, your world, your friends, your lovers, your family, nothing is keepable here. And yet, we're all into the keeping of it, and we're all into the doing of it, and we're all into the having of it, and we're actually into the losing of it dramatically. We're very, entertained, either happily entertained or unhappily entertained, but certainly doing something. succeeding or failing, but something. Nothing, something. Anything. Come on. Kick into gear. There's got to be something we're going to find here. We're going to keep here. You're not going to find anything to keep here. So, we're misled or maybe misunderstanding. It might not be really a conspiracy. It could just be confusion. And when we got on the train, it says, hits wall. That was the name on the train, hits wall. That's where we're going to, hits wall. But we didn't pay any attention. That must be, something. It's just silly. I wonder who else has been to hits wall before. And we get on the train. And we think that what's happening is we're going to get somewhere. So then there's the person who looks at the thing and gets pushed on the train. And they're thinking, oh my God, this is going to hits wall. And is looking out the windows, is talking to the conductor. Excuse me, what do you mean hits wall? What are you talking about, hits wall? Where is that? Show me the map. I want to see the map. The train has started to go. Some of us are here kicking and screaming. We know this train is not going to work. We knew it young. We might forget if we see a pretty girl or a pretty boy. We might forget that we know this is a train we should not be on. Sometimes all it is just an interesting book, a magazine cover, and we're lost. We're lost into the ride. So Rinpoche, he said, the purpose of life is to prepare to die. Hits wall. But if you're not going to do that, at least enjoy the ride. This is a lovely train. You are in a good seat. There is a cute boy or girl there. It is an interesting magazine. It's fun. Go ahead, at least enjoy the ride, because this is your portion, this life. It won't last. It's not going to get you anywhere. But if you are a little bit more aware than the crowd that just gets on the train, then at least those moments before it hits wall gives you a chance to wake up. Because this life is only as true as a dream is true. Only as true as a mirage is true. Only as true as the surface of a lake reflecting the nighttime full autumn moon. It's only as true as you're experiencing it to be true. There is more truth than this. And yet we are not experiencing that. It's not exactly, completely a free ride. Okay? On that train, whatever you do, positive, negative, or neutral, produces the next train. So if you're being a real mala sannyasa on that train, the next train is much worse. If you're sweet, kind, loving, helpful, supportive, tender, serving, you're loving, the next train could be better even than this one. All trains go to hits wall. But the ride can be different depending on how you manage to act on the train. And then there is waking up. So understanding, okay, this is my story. I'm on a train. This train hits wall, is going to hit wall. And, there's things here that are fascinating and fun, but the most important thing is to wake up from this. Because hits wall every time. And that is the compassion of the Buddha. Wake up, baby. You're dreaming, baby. Wake up. But the dream is so compelling, the karma is so fitting, the body is so sensitive and erotic and sleepy. We have so many reasons why we don't wake up. Habit patterns, karma, this sense of division, like I'm in my train, I'm in this world. It feels so full of significance, when what it really is an illusion happening. And it's compelling, this illusion. Wow. We feel so good about it. We feel so bad about it. We feel so much. We think feeling is true. We're so happy about it. We're so unhappy about it. Look how much you complain. Just yesterday, think about it. Just yesterday, how many complaints in one day? How many disappointments in one day? How many anxieties in one day? How many disturbances, how many hopes and fears in one day? You probably can't even count them. Because we're not looking back. We're not listening, first of all, to the teachers, the teachings, to the Buddhas, to the Dharma, to the Sangha. We're not listening. Okay. You are in this train and you do have this hit, you're going to hit wall. But you have from now until then to wake up. Don't you think that would be important to understand? You have from now until then to wake up. But instead, what are we doing? Mostly we're doing false contentment. And need. And disappointment. We're always a little bit disgruntled, if not outright angry, that we can't have what we want. Not that we want to wake up. We want the pretty boy or the pretty girl. We want the magazine somebody else is reading. So when we face, like aware, we face, all right, I have a problem. I have a problem. Birth, sickness, aging, and death. I have a problem. It's not that it's me alone, of course. This is the problem everybody has, but they're not dealing with it. But I have this problem. I need to deal with this. What am I going to do? Well, you need to learn what to do. You need to understand how the train works. You need to understand how the dreaming works. If you're going to wake up, you have to understand how it works. And then you have to take the responsibility of changing your own mind, because your mind is making this dream. Nobody else's mind is making your dream. There's no big creator out there making your dream. You don't get to pass off the responsibility for exactly where you are. And what you do belongs to you and will be your endless becoming, positive, negative, or neutral. Exactly how you are is what you become. And it's amazing, but nobody really tells us that. I mean, I don't remember being told that as a kid. Awful teenager. Could have used a little bit of some wisdom input. Not that I would have listened. I would have found another way to argue with that. But the idea that it doesn't have to be this way, but it will be this way. Lacking awareness, lacking attention, lacking compassion to understand, okay, I've got to wake up. This is not going anywhere good. And how do I do that? That turns you to the teachings and the teacher. Because up until then, you're very distracted. I mean, even once you know, you're very habitually distracted. So the teacher, the teaching, you have to listen, you have to think about it, and you have a timeline. How long before you arrive in Hitswal? That's your timeline. And you don't know how long that is. So this is where we kind of understand that the Buddhist teaching is not a teaching of avoidance or running away. It's not a teaching of believing you can just turn it all good and make it all nice. It's a teaching of waking up. And most of us don't know we're sleeping. It's why it's a teaching of compassion. Because you could just be awake. You could wake up. You could realize the true nature of your own mind. And yet, we're just in these endless cycles of futile and suffering becoming. And that's not, the story is very hard personally, but think how hard this story is multiplied by every I-bound being. Every one of them arrives at endless becoming. I think myself, up until that moment where you realize that this isn't about you, really, it never works. Because the selfishness is so compelling. The selfishness is so easily distracted. We're just like a cat with a toy, a bauble. We just can't help but hit it and play with it. And so only when you really truly understand the tragedy of unenlightened being, the endless loss and disappointment and pain of not knowing the truth, the endless suffering, then we have enough power with compassion to actually apply ourselves to the task beyond self. So it's very important in the moment to be able to liberate your mind from the content of the dreaming, not playing the game of the dreaming. Like if you're dreaming in the night and you win the lottery, you might be very into that in your dream. You might be thinking what you're going to spend your money on, where you're going to travel, what you're going to do, how you're going to manage it, where you're going to dig a hole in the backyard to hide your money so nobody else will know you have it. All of that content is a moot point. All of that content is not actually relevant to the fact that you're dreaming, which is the most important point. Oh, this is a dream. I'm dreaming. Because now we lack that relevant point. We lack understanding what's happening to us. And so we're into the content of the life. It's sort of delicious and lovely for my life anyway. And it's so compelling to be into the content. But that's going to hit the wall because dreams don't last forever. And they're not even true when you're having them. But if you live the life for the content, then you're swept along. And you don't have power to utilize the life to enlightenment because you're swept along by the story of gain and loss. You're swept along by the story of success and failure. You're swept along, compelled to act and react and like and not like. And it's so important. But the true importance is lost because the most important is the wisdom to know, you almost fooled me. Look at that. I bought that one, didn't I? Look what's happening to them. They're all confused and fooled by the seeming truth of phenomena. When that phenomena is impermanent, composite, and vulnerable, that phenomena is not going to last. There's not going to be a successful gain or an unsuccessful loss. It's all unsuccessful. Only thing that will succeed is wisdom. And that wakes you up. That's why the Buddha taught. So that you could wake up. That's why the meditators meditated. Why would they do that? What sense would that make? Where is that going to get them, sitting in a cold cave? What is that going to do? Like, they're not stupid people. So why would they do that? There has to be a good reason. To wake up. To wake up before you die. You will wake up when you die, I promise. This dream, all finished. And you're going to go, oh no. This dream, all finished. But how you manage that moment to a really awakening or not is dependent on your capacity. But to wake up in this life, that's the product of a spiritual path. To know in the dream you're dreaming and to be able to help people is based on wisdom. It's not about content or having more. What do you get that's more here? What do you get? And loss? Oh no, I could lose something feign despair. Of course you're going to lose everything. You're going to lose your body. You're going to lose your world. You're going to lose everything. This is not keepable. Feign or no feign. That's all gone. So the difference is using the life as the path to realize wisdom. Using the life to attain the water in my ice cube example. Using the life to wake up from a dream, the Buddha's example. Using the life on the train before you hit the wall to wake up. To bring benefit to whoever would see you or hear you or touch you or remember you, that they could wake up. To be awake, to help them wake. What else are you going to help them do? Have more? Well, that would be nice, but you're busy getting more for you. What makes us unconscious is ego. You have to wake up from ego. That is a spiritual path. And there are many methods depending on you. They're not generic methods. They're specific according to how you sleep is how you wake up. That's why you need a teacher. That's why you need teachings. That's why you can't just read it in a book. I'm so sorry. It would be so nice. You have so many. It would be nice. But it won't work. You need the teacher. You need the teaching. You need the system that fits you. The way you compose dreaming. The way you compose hope and fear. The way you compose delusion in your mind for your mind. And less than that, it's not efficient. So sorry. And you might think, well, I would rather it was like this, or I would rather it was like that. You can do that as much as you want. It's a free world. But the Buddha, the Bodhisattvas and the great masters have shown us the way to be able to tame our own mind, who's making the dream, who's also more than the dream, is your own mind. And while you're captive in your dream, you don't know where is your own mind. What is your own mind? So the spiritual path is such an act of kindness. And what is really happening is that we're using the moments of this life, this dream, this train ride, to purify karma and accumulate merit, like good works. So in case we don't get enough time to really escape this train, then at least the next train gives us the support to be able to escape. But short of that is to wake up now, is to realize in this moment of the dreamer, there is your awake mind. It's not sleeping. It's not dreaming. It's absolute, and it's perfect, and it pervades the totality of reality. And that is the point, not only for you, but for every being, that they could realize their enlightened mind.
Throughout my many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue I have accomplished, including the merit generated by this practice, and all that I will ever attain, this I offer for the welfare of sentient being. May sickness, war, famine, and suffering be decreased for every being, while their wisdom and compassion increase in this and every future life. May I clearly perceive all experiences to be as insubstantial as the dream fabric of the night, and instantly awaken to perceive the pure wisdom display in the arising of every phenomena. May I quickly attain enlightenment in order to work ceaselessly for the liberation of all sentient beings. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas altogether, whatever kind of motivation you have, whatever kind of beneficial action, whatever kind of wishing prayers, whatever kind of omniscience, whatever kind of life accomplishment, whatever kind of benevolent power, and whatever kind of immense wisdom you have, then similarly I, who come in the same way to benefit being, pray to attain these qualities. At this very moment for the peoples and the nations of the earth, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. Rather may their moral conduct, merit, wealth, and prosperity increase, and may supreme good fortune and well-being always arise for them.